I wish when I was 18 or 21, I had someone sit me down and give me the advice that I'm going to share in this video. If I had known some of these things or had a different outlook on life at that time, I would be really well off right now. I would be comfortable and set for life financially, so that there had never been some of the more stressful times in my life where I had to struggle with not having a home or had to struggle with not having enough money and being underpaid. If I had known some of these things, I would have been in a much better place. And right now I would have been in an even better place than I currently am after years of figuring it out myself and changing my life for the better. I recently had someone leave a comment on my video asking me to give some advice to a 21-year-old and to share what I would have wanted to know then, or what advice I would give to someone at that age right now. So in this video, I'm going to share some of those ideas and some of the things that I wish I had known back then that could help you get to a better place in life a lot faster than it took me. So this advice is going to be kind of all over the place and related to money in a lot of different ways, but I am going to try to put it all together in ways that make sense. So first, we're going to talk about investing things that I wish I had known and done at that age. First, start investing as soon as possible. If you're not currently investing, start now. The sooner you start investing, the more time you have to compound your money. Yes, you're probably going to graduate with debt. You're probably going to be at a lower salary than you wish, and you're probably not going to have as much money as you think. But use some of that money, some percentage, to put away for your future. Start investing now, and you can put away smaller amounts that will compound over time, so you put in less money overall. This is something that I really wish I had done, and I did start investing early, but the more I could have put in and the earlier I could have started, the better off I would be right now. Along those lines, if you are earning an income at this age, open up a Roth IRA and max it out. The max right now is $6,000, so put in $6,000 if you can. It would be an amazing thing for your future if you can put in as much money as possible into a Roth that will grow tax-free for many, many years to come. Roths are great because they also have ways that you can pull out money for a home, and they have a lot of different flexible options. And all of that money is going to grow tax-free over time. So if you are young, if you are 21, if you are 18 and you are earning an income, go open a Roth IRA and put money in that account. It is something that you can do now that will benefit you for decades to come. If you don't know what a Roth IRA is, I have a video on it and I will link that down below. I have a few videos on different places you can look to open an account, and I will link those as well. It is something that is worth investing like 30 minutes to an hour of your time. So you learn about this account type and you set one up, and then you start investing into this account. Another thing that you should always do is once you get a job and you're eligible to contribute to a 401k is always get your 401k match. Always, 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 always. I feel like when I was 21, I was not thinking about investing for retirement. But when you are working for someone and they offer a match, that is part of the money that they're willing to pay you. You are basically taking a pay cut if you do not contribute to your 401k and get that money. So I highly recommend that you always get at least the match, and then you move on to other things, but definitely make sure that you are starting your 401k as soon as you're eligible, putting that money in and investing for the future. When you start younger, once again, you don't have to put in as much money overall, so definitely make sure that you're starting. Maybe you're only putting in 3% or 4%, just enough to get that company match. And that money will grow over time, and you'll be much better off in the future when you're older, because I promise that time will come. It comes a lot faster than you think. I can't believe how old I am right now. And you will really be glad that you started early and started contributing to that 401k. Here's some advice I would give on housing. First of all is don't go out and get the nicest apartment you can, and don't go out and get a new place by yourself. You're probably used to still living with roommates. You might be in a dorm, you might be in a house with other friends. So stick with that lifestyle. If you are living with roommates, your expenses are going to be so much lower than if you go out and try to have your own household. You are able to save so much more money if you are living with roommates. And honestly, it's still a fun time to live with people in your early 20s. When you're 30, when you're 40, you're not probably going to want to have a ton of roommates. I think in your late 20s, you'll probably be tired of it. But in your early 20s, it is a great time to have lots of friends and lots of roommates and just be around people. So definitely keep that roommate lifestyle, and the next piece of advice builds on that, because if you can, once you get a job and have a steady income stream, try to purchase a home that you can house hack. House hacking is an amazing way to build wealth quickly when you are young and when you are able to share a house in a way that builds wealth. So basically what house hacking is to buy a home with enough rooms that you can rent out the rooms in your house, or you can buy a duplex and rent out one side or something like that. But the most common when you're younger is to buy a home with like 3 bedrooms and then rent out the other 2 bedrooms to pay for your mortgage. So basically with those 2 rooms rented, you are covering your housing expense. So you won't have to pay any rent and you'll have your mortgage paid for. It is a fantastic way to build wealth. So you'll be building equity, and depending on where you live and how much you can charge for rent, you might even have a bit of an income stream. This is a fantastic idea, and if you can qualify for it and make it work, house hacking is probably the #1 thing I would recommend for someone in their early 20s who's been working maybe a year or 2 and has the ability to buy a home. This is something I wanted to do in my early 20s and I was about to do when I actually lost my job and wasn't able to finish the house buying process. I lost my job right before closing and did not get to do this, and it's one of my big financial regrets. So it's something that I always recommend and try to push people toward if they are interested in building wealth in any kind of way, because you're gonna be able to use that lifestyle where you still are okay with roommates to set you up to have a big boost above other people. Okay, so now a couple pieces of advice about spending when you're at this age. It is something that can really get you in trouble. So spending is something that you should really start paying attention to at this age. And I promise my advice is not going to be don't spend any money. I really don't recommend that. I think in your 20s, you definitely need to spend money. You need to be able to go out, enjoy your time with other people. You need to be able to go to networking events. You need to be able to go out with your coworkers, go to happy hours. Make sure that you're spending in a way that fits your budget. Never overspend past what you can afford, but definitely enjoy your spending and make sure you have experiences at this age, because you might not get to have them all when you're older, and it's definitely a time where you should enjoy life a little bit. And to use your spending in a way that will help you with your career, with things like going out and going to networking events. That is something that you should definitely be doing. But on the spending side, if you can't afford it, learn to say no. Learn to say no to things that you just can't afford. There are going to be so many things thrown at you during this time period, and maybe you can't pay for them. Maybe you can't afford them. A big thing is being in weddings or going to these huge destination trips. And if you can't afford it, learning to say no now is going to be something that is really helpful for you in your life. Or maybe it's just the continual going out every single night. Maybe you can't do that, so you have to say no sometimes and cut back to maybe a couple times a week. This is something that will serve you well in life. If you can learn to say no at this age, you're going to be so much better off throughout your life. Speaking of, don't finance your vacations. This is a trap for a lot of younger people, because I feel like credit card hacking is such an appealing thing where you can get a card and get all these travel points, and it is personally something I do, and all of my vacations now are pretty much paid for through free credit card points. But when I was 18, I was not responsible enough to handle that. So definitely make sure that you are not financing things that you are consuming. So if you are using a credit card to get points to travel, don't necessarily charge your whole vacation on it. Don't charge your drinks or your food. Make sure that you're keeping your spending within the limits that you can still pay for. And also keep your travel cheap. When you're younger, you don't need the 5-star hotels that you maybe are gonna want when you're 40 or 50. You can still travel cheap and have a ton of fun. When I was 21, I was in Europe for about 6 months. I traveled really cheaply during that 6 months, and I saw a lot of the continent. I went on very cheap flights. I took trips overnight on trains to save money on hotels. I stayed in hostels, which were cheap and sometimes super sketchy. But I made sure that I was able to spend very cheaply, and I never charged any of it. So I was paying as I went and still had a great time. I have amazing memories, and I got to do a lot more because I kept things cheap instead of trying to go for the luxury. So basically all of this advice is to learn your limits of what money you have and then spend within those limits. you can still have a ton of fun and go a lot of places by keeping it cheap, staying on a budget, and just making it work with what you actually have money-wise. Another tip for this age is to learn how to cook if you don't already know how to cook. It will save you so much money in the future. Throughout your life, you're going to have to figure out how to feed yourself for 2 to 3 meals for 60, 70, 80, however long you're gonna live. A long time. That's a lot of meals. And if you're going to not ever learn how to cook, you're going to be spending more for the food that you're consuming. You're going to be eating out more. You're going to be spending more for convenience foods. So learning how to cook is a really useful skill that doesn't get enough attention, I think, for financial advice, because if you know how to cook and you can cook really good meals, you're going to find ways to make it better and cheaper than you would be paying at a restaurant. And the final spending tip that I have for you at this age is to look at the total cost, not just the payments. In our world, in our society, we are so focused on the monthly payment and what we can afford in our budget that we often don't scale back out and look at the 50,000 feet view, where we look at the total cost. So this is something that you should really get in the habit of when you're at this age. So you'll probably be sold on a lot of different things as it's only this much per month, but make sure that you look back out at the overall cost and how much this is going to cost you over time. It's a really good habit to get into as you are going to be evaluating things in the future, like car costs, home costs, all of the things that are bigger that you will often get sold on as a monthly payment. Just make sure that you're able to look back, kind of step back and look at the full price, not just the monthly payment cost. And now the final advice that I would personally give to a teenager or to a 21-year-old, anyone in that age range, in that college age range, just be ambitious, but also allow yourself room to explore. So you probably have an idea of what you want to be, what type of work you want to do, but once you get into certain career fields, you'll figure out quickly that it might not be what you think, and it might not be the right fit for you. So definitely stay ambitious and take on more work and be someone that is dependable and always learning and wanting to do more. But also give yourself room to fail. Give yourself room to try something new. Give yourself room and time to have a side hustle or to try a new hobby or to pick up things that you do just for creative fun or things that you think you might be interested in a job for the future. I started YouTube as a random hobby because I worked for a company that had video equipment and I thought that it was very interesting. I had coworkers that were YouTubers and I was like, interesting, maybe I could do that. And now, honestly, it's my full-time job. It replaced that job because I started something new. You never know where these little things, where these little threads of your life will take you. You don't know how, when you start something, it's going to turn out. You don't know if it'll be bigger than you expect or if it'll be something that you hate doing. You don't know until you try. So allow yourself to try tons of different things. Give yourself a little bit of freedom to experiment and to see what actually sets you on fire, what you actually love to do. So that is the advice I would give to a young person right now. Oh God, I sound so old. A young person. I'm in my 30s, but if I had known some of these things when I was 21, I would be in such a better place right now. So take it from me, who sounds like an old person, do some of these things and you will be in a much better place in the future. I think that anyone who watches videos like this or reads blog articles or watches TikToks about how to handle their money, when you're younger, you're going to be so much further ahead than many of your peers, and it's going to be a really great thing for you. So keep learning, stay flexible, and be creative. You're going to have a great life, and I am so excited to see what some of you do.